didn't see, because she was coming out here when it wasn't open. I'm thinking maybe. That's maybe how I read that. And I encouraged her not to be discouraged for not seeing and being able to physically intervene right here, because it's not flesh and blood, it's the powers of darkness we stand against, and there's no space. You know, when you come out here, just because you might not see them, just because you don't catch them at the door, you don't know where God is leading your prayers around Little Rock. So Rita asked me to come and share my testimony. About 5 years ago, I became pregnant with my second child. I was not married. I wasn't even with the father of the child. Actually, we had been separated. And my first daughter, it was a very high-risk pregnancy. We had medical issues, had a stroke. I was on bed rest, almost flatlined on the table giving birth to her. I was in a position where I was not financially capable of supporting 2 children. I had no job. I was raising one child that already her biological father had stepped out of the picture before I had given birth. So history had repeated itself. I barely survived with one. Lord, are you serious? You're giving me 2. My family comes from a very dedicated Christian background. So abortion, going to them with that decision and trying to ask what I should do, I already knew the answer. I already knew they weren't going to support me. But I had no one. I didn't have the father of the child in my life. I didn't have the money to support a second child. I could barely, like I said, take care of my first one. So for about a week, I contemplated and went back and forth. I was only about 3.5, 4 weeks pregnant from what the doctors had been able to tell. So it was very early on, and I had contemplated abortion off of the, misconception that it's just a little bitty embryo. It's not even really a baby. That's kind of how people had told me. I was so early on, it really didn't, to them, as they were telling me, it really didn't matter. And so I had conjured up the money, and I had made it across to the abortion clinic. The ladies there were so nice and so comforting. They drew me in quick, and they were the only ones that seemed to not judge me in my position and said, hey, we have a solution. Just come up here, and we can get this handled for you. And I felt encouraged by that. So after about 15 minutes on the phone with her, had my date set, she said something that literally changed my life. She said, oh, by the way, when you come out here that day, just make sure you know that there's people standing outside protesting. And don't pay them no mind, just walk straight through them. When she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. This was something I knew I shouldn't be doing. I was raised by a Christian background, and I was trying to make it okay. I was trying to tell myself it's not that bad. And when she said that, it literally shined light into the darkness. It convicted me. And I want to add, and I hadn't added this in my testimony, I want to encourage y'all, I wasn't a Christian at this point. I only became a Christian a year later, so the Holy Spirit can convict even the sinner and intervene. So, don't ever put a limit on where God can reach the people in our lives. But when she said that, I hung up the phone and told her thank you. I didn't cancel the appointment. I left it as is. But then I started to think about it. This was something I wanted to slip in the back door. This is something I didn't want to ever tell my mom. It's not something I ever wanted to share with my sisters. It wasn't something I was going to share with the father of the child. It was something I had decided to take upon myself and get it out the way and then move on. And when she said that, it showed me how I couldn't hide it. And ultimately, that started to process in my mind on if I was wanting to hide it, what would I live with? If I had to continue to make it a secret, if I was already too scared to face people I didn't know on these corners, how was I going to face myself every single day in the mirror? Ultimately, I did not go. They called me, left me messages saying, yo, you missed your appointment, we can make you another one, and I never returned their call. I gave birth to a beautiful, beautiful little girl who's 4 years old today. She is an anointed child. When I was asked to come on the campaign with Rita, maybe I should have given me a mic, but when I was asked to come on, it kind of went deeper for me. I started to think of, about a lot with abortion. And ultimately we do want this clinic to shut down, and ultimately we know that whenever we sow good seed, that we're going to reap fruit from it. And we've already seen with the babies that have been saved that there's fruit from this. But ultimately, I want to encourage all of us to think a little bit deeper today. That yes, we could shut down this building, but are we going to change the perception? Are we going to change the hearts of our youth? Are we going to change the way we view people who get into situations that think that there is no way out, think that the love of God cannot touch them, think that their mistake is something new to God? Because if we just shut it down, but we don't change the heart, if we just shut it down and we don't bring the light, if we shut it down and we don't change how we perceive ourselves as Christians to bring the love, will it make a difference? So I encourage all of you to think about that deeper. Yes, I want this shut down, but I want it shut down because they ran out of business, not because technically the law said no. I want it because we've reached the heart of our city, and that we've become more loving towards those who have slipped off the path, loving towards those. Like I said, I was condemned by, I hate to say this, but I was condemned whenever my family found out I was pregnant. They are Christians, and they've asked me for forgiveness, but they condemned me for that decision. I still walked that road alone. They did not jump on board with me. I was pregnant. I was unmarried. I was living in sin, and there was no mercy shown. I raised that child without the help of my family, but God stepped in, and He made a way where no man could make a way, and He held my hand when no one else would hold my hand, and He provided food when no one else wanted to provide food. He grew me more with that decision of having that child. So yes, we are here because we are standing in the gap, but I want to personally, because I know we just asked how long y'all been coming out here, for the men and the women who have stood out here from 5 years ago and before, my daughters prove that all your fruit works, or all your works led to fruit. My daughter is proof that prayer works, and I want to personally thank you for standing against the gates of hell when the world was condemning me. And my daughter is vibrant. And I also, in closing, because every time I get a chance, I say this, 2 months ago, my 4-year-old daughter woke me up at 7 o'clock in the morning and said, "Mama, I seen Jesus." And I said, "Baby, what do you mean?" She said, "He came to me in a dream. I seen him." And I said, "Baby, what are you talking about? I'm getting excited." A message from the Lord. And she said, "He came out the cloud on a horse, Mama, and he said, I'm coming back soon to tell my people I love them, and I'm coming back soon." That's from a 4-year-old little girl that the devil tried to take 5 years ago. He didn't win. He's not going to win. All we have to do is be obedient, to sacrifice our time, to sacrifice our love, our time on these streets to spread love to anybody, whether they're a sinner, whether they're a saint. It don't really matter. The love of God can reach anybody, anywhere, at any place, at any time. We just have to continue to be faithful. So, in conclusion, I love you all, and I thank you all for showing up and supporting, and I look forward to hearing more testimonies in the months and days to come, and eventually this, like I said, will be shut down because they ran out of business.